Hello, friends, and welcome to a brand new episode of Discourse in Magic with Michael O'Brien. Michael is an awesome magician, and he does the most incredible linking ring routine I have ever seen. I recommend checking it out. I'll leave a link in the description, but definitely check it out or type it into Google or YouTube or something like that to watch the routine. It is the best routine I have ever seen. I thought it was unique in thinking that, but apparently it's a quote on his website. Every magician who sees it says that was the best linking ring routine I have ever seen, because it is. In this episode, we figure out how it came to be, how collaboration and obsession and fun and creativity and a lot of things came together to create this awesome routine. As well, we also hear about his creativity for some of his other magic, and you get to hear about some of his advice for going pro and thinking about taking on magic full time. I think you're going to love the episode. I know I did. Here it is, a lot of fun with Michael O'Brien. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Discourse in Magic. My name is Jonah Babbins, and we are here with Michael O'Brien. Michael, how are you?
I'm great, Jonah. Thank you so much for having me, man.
I am super excited to chat magic with you, and we were talking before I pressed record, but it's very rare that I'll see a trick that makes my eyes literally pop out of my head after being in magic for a long time, and you've done it. So I'm excited to chat with you a little bit about that, and also a little bit about how the take that you have on magic and what you kind of do to old magic principles and effects and make them new and young and fresh and Michael-y. So let's start at the very beginning. How did you get into magic?
So I've been into magic ever since I could remember. I think the Jaw Droppers set, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It was like the first VHS set that I ever got. I'm going to date myself there saying VHS. For those of you kids at home who don't know what VHS is, it's like a DVD, except it's not a DVD. It's like a tape.
And what about the ones that don't know what a DVD is?
Those of you that don't know what a DVD is, it's like a download, but the download is saved on a tape. Yeah, I got that set when I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and you learn some card tricks and like tricks with like everyday objects and coins and stuff. I really got into it with my friends. We used to do magic shows for each other, and like our families would have them like sit down in the living room and do magic shows and stuff. And then it got to a point where I kind of grew out of it a little bit. I started getting heavily into like music and wrestling, and in high school I was like on the wrestling team, and I played in the marching band and all that stuff. So that kind of consumed my life throughout high school. And then we fast forward to my senior year in high school. Me and a bunch of my friends, we went to Hollywood, and we did like the Hollywood walk. So we walked through there. We did the touristy thing. We looked around at different shops and stuff. And then there was a magician there who was busking. So he did a really cool little card show for us. And after the show, I approached him and I said, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I used to do magic when I was younger, but I kind of got out of it. And the magic that I did was like self-working tricks and gimmicks and stuff. I had never really seen a sleight of hand magician up close and in person until that point. All the magic I'd been exposed to was, like the 21 card trick and like the hot rod and Svengali decks and all that kind of stuff. So he said, well, here, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do another set. I'm going to gather up another crowd, and then you stand like behind me, and I'm going to perform for them, and you can see everything that I do. So I'm watching this, and
That's
he's
crazy. What an incredible thing for a magician to say to a young magician.
And here's the funny thing. I don't remember his name. I don't know anything about him. I remember his face. Like if I ever saw him again, I would be like, you were that guy. But I don't know anything about him. I didn't get a chance to ask. So he goes into this card to pocket kind of routine, right? Like when he was doing the palming off of the cards and things, he would flash them to me so I could like see like what he was doing and stuff. I'm sitting there thinking like, how are these people not falling for this? Like it's super obvious what he's doing. But then I remembered like 5 minutes ago, he just fooled the crap out of me with it. And then afterwards, I asked him like, how can I learn this kind of stuff? Because I was really interested in it. He said, go to your local library and check out The Royal Road to Card Magic. So that's what I did. And that's the first book on sleight of hand card magic that I picked up. And I started getting into that and stuff. And to this day, the card to pocket routine that he showed me, or should I say at least a variation of it, is something that's in my working material that I perform in just about every single show. So it's kind of like my little tribute to him. I've rethemed it a lot since then. It's kind of one of those things where that piece of magic has been in my set ever since, he showed me that card to pocket effect in Hollywood. So it's kind of like my little tribute to him.
That's awesome. And I love that story. And I'm always challenged when I hear stories like that, how it's so obvious that a magician opening up the world of magic to someone is what helps. But I think now, and like, I'm incredibly supportive for a young magician. But if I was doing a show and a magician came up to me, I would never be like, well, why don't you stand here and you can see how all the things work while I do it for other people? Like, so, definitely welcoming first mentor, and then walk me through the next few steps of the journey. So you went to a library, you found found a magic book, and then how did that start integrating into your life?
Okay, so I actually got thrown into the fire pretty quickly. So I started learning some magic out of the Railroad to Card Magic book. I started learning some card tricks. I remember learning like the shapeshifter change and like the Erdnase color change and like the Charlier cut and stuff. So by this point in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm totally awesome, right? Like I can do like 2 or 3 card tricks. They're sleight of hand based, and so I start showing them to people, and people love it. Me and one of my friends, we actually went to downtown Disney. The downtown Disney district is kind of like the shopping district. There was a little magic kiosk there, Houdini's magic shop. So I went up to the kiosk and I'm like looking around all the magic stuff and like, oh, this is pretty cool and stuff like that. I hadn't really been exposed to a whole lot of it at this point. Keep in mind, this is like right as I was about to graduate high school. So I was like, I need a job because I'm going to be moving out. I stayed with a friend for my senior year in high school. And then the catch 22 here was I had to move out by the time that I was done with school, but in order to do that, I had to get a job. So I was just kind of throwing spitballs here at anything that'll stick, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to put in an application at the magic shop and see what happens. Turns out they were actually in between people, so they gave me a call like right away. I think like the next 2 days or so, they called me back. I came in for an interview, and then they were like, okay, cool, we're going to hire you here. And so I'm like, whoa, I didn't think like this was going to happen so soon. So I literally by this point had, I'm going to say, like 2 months worth of experience in actual like sleight of hand magic and stuff like that. So I literally got thrown into the fire, so to speak. I really actually appreciate it because I was forced to have to perform several shows a day for strangers, people I didn't know. And you learn to talk to people, you learn customer service skills, you learn interaction skills. And I'm super shy. I'm the kid at the party that would just kind of like sit on the couch and kind of hope that someone will want to come talk to me. I'm not a very outgoing person naturally. So like I kind of had to find that in myself, and I kind of had to force myself to learn how to interact with people and be outgoing and stuff. So yeah, so that was like kind of my journey into magic. I did that for about a year or so, and I ended up becoming a junior member at the Magic Castle in 2009. And then from there, it just all kind of skyrocketed. It just like magic sort of really consumed my life from that point forward.
To be honest, I love that part of the story where you apply for the job as like a young teen thinking like there's no chance, and then getting it and performing a lot. If I could wish anything upon young magicians, it would be a low paying many hour magic job where you perform a lot. Like really, if I were to wish anything upon a young magic teen, it's that. It's like get a magic job where you have to perform 10 hours of magic a day instead of one. Like you'll be so thankful.
Well, that's the thing too, is that people would ask me, how many hours a day do you practice? And I'd say literally like 10 hours a day.
Right?
And they'd look at me like I was like exaggerating. And I'm like, no, I'm working an 8 hour shift here. I'm literally performing magic for people all day. When I'm not performing magic for them, like if it's a slow day, I'm sitting at the cart with cards in my hand, practicing things that I want to, that I want to learn, or reading a book or whatever. And then when I get home, the next thing is I pop in my magic videos, I'm watching those, and I'm learning new stuff so that I have something to practice when I'm at work. It was a never ending cycle for a while. These days, I probably will only practice like 10 hours a week. And it's especially if I'm looking to learn something new. But to be honest with you, I'm at the point in my career right now where I'm not looking to add new magic material to my act so much, but more looking for new ways to kind of deliver my magic to different audiences. So whether it be like transitioning from close up to like a more stand up or like a parlor type situation, or just looking for the business aspect of it, trying to figure out how to market myself to new people and do more shows. And the ultimate goal right now, I've set a personal goal for myself, which is to make 6 figures just solely performing magic for people. So I did about a little over a quarter of that last year. So I'm hoping within the next couple years we can meet that goal, and that's the little personal challenge that I've given myself.
I love that. And also, I think it's a reminder that what we focus on sort of shifts as we grow into magic, especially if we're doing it professionally. I always use the Wes Barker quote, which is, if your marketing material is better than your show, then your show has to get better. And if your show is better than your marketing material, then your marketing material needs to get better.
Hmm.
And it's not exactly true, but it is a funny way to consider how we have to go back and forth about what it is that we focus on. And also, another thing to highlight there is, one of those things that you learn when you're young and you do however many hours and hours and hours of the same tricks over and over again, is the value of a like a repertoire. Really, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I have 4 tricks, but I've done them each 1,000 times, and not 1,000 tricks you've done 4 times, is such a deciding factor. And for me, played a real role in the confidence I had to do magic more professionally. Was words falling out of my mouth, like that played a big role, because I felt like I had done it 1,000 times, and I wasn't just like, oh, I hope it works. I was like, oh yeah, let me
Yeah.
kill.
And the fun thing about it too is that since the sleight of hand and the technical aspect of it is something that you're so comfortable with, there's a little bit of time for improv and jazzing and just having fun and experimenting with people, and on the fly I'll just say something that I thought was like clever or whatever and see if it sticks. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes even the audience will say something clever. So like an example of that is I do this sort of like ambitious card routine, and then what I end up doing is I have them sign the back of the card. I take off their signature, I hand it to them, and then they throw their signature in the air, and then their signature falls on the back of another card, which ends up being the first person's sign selection. So it's sort of like an anniversary waltz kind of thing, but with the signature. I took the signature off the card and I handed it to someone, and I said, "Make sure you don't drop it, okay?" And then someone in the back goes, "Yep, because no one likes a name dropper." And I was just like, that is gold. And so from
Yeah,
now
amazing.
on, anytime I hand that signature to someone, I go ahead and make sure you hold on to this and don't drop it. You know why, right? And no one likes a name dropper. And everyone always ends up losing it at that point. And the key to all this is you're not going to learn those things performing in front of a mirror or in performing for Instagram or, just sitting in your room and performing while you're watching a movie. The goal is to actually go out and perform for people, because for me the performance aspect of it is actually part of the practice. So like practice is like 3 steps. Step 1 is you have to learn all the technique, right? All the individual moves, sleights, and stuff that you need to be able to put the routine together. Step 2 is you actually build the routine and you are able to perform it from start to finish. You write a script for it, you practice it, actually speaking out loud to yourself and one-on-one, and just kind of like practicing the full routine from start to finish and making adjustments and stuff like that. And then the third part of it, and this is the part that most people don't realize, is you do have to go out and perform it for people, because now you're going to learn to make adjustments to the story or the pattern, or maybe something's flashed and more angle sensitive than you realized. And some things that you thought were going to kill and be super funny, no one laughs at them. And then other things, like, no, I'm just going to try this and see what happens. And then, you end up adding it into your set. So yeah, it's really important to make sure that you're going out performing for people, and your routines are going to evolve over time. Like the ambitious card slash card to pocket slash card under card box kind of card set that I've settled on recently. I've been working on, since I was working in downtown Disney at the Magic Shop. It's not the same routine if you were to see it, in 2008, me performing the same routine. It's the same routine, but it's so different. You know what I mean?
100%. And those things grow with us, especially when we've got hours and hours and hours of flight time. That's those little minor things, like you said. Only picking up even one thing every 1 or 2 shows will drastically change the course of a trick over the course of whatever it is, 10, 20, 50, 1,000
Hmm.
performances. So I definitely resonate with that. So let's talk a little bit about the career journey, and then I want to get into some magic specifics. One of the things I'm always really fascinated by is the transition into going pro, or at least working, doing magic for money. And it's always an uncomfortable position. And particularly for people who are getting into magic when they're young, that decision takes place a lot of the times when their friends are deciding about going to school or graduating school or getting a real job or whatever it is. And it sounds like it landed pretty much at that time and at that window for you. So talk to me about deciding to take the leap, how you decided and how it worked out.
At first, it was a lot of me performing shows and doing strolling magic at events that I knew someone that was there and they asked me to come along and perform, but it was not paid. So a lot of me performing at friends' parties or me performing at the bar when there was like a hangout meetup group or something, a lot of that at the beginning. I know that there's kind of this like debate, where a lot of people say that, you shouldn't perform for exposure because you devalue the product and you make it hard for other magicians who are, trying to make a living and stuff. But the honest truth is you have to start somewhere, and you're not going to charge someone $1,000 for your first gig that you've ever done. You have to start somewhere. And for me, it was just getting the chops, getting the experience, performing for different people, figuring out what tricks worked, what tricks didn't. The second phase was, okay, I know I can do this. Now I want to start like profiting off of it because I need money. And so learning how to market myself and all that, and started doing paid shows here and there, figuring out what my prices are going to be and all that stuff. The third phase, which is more recent, this was probably about 2016 or so, I quit my full-time job working at Disneyland. I decided to leave that job to pursue magic full-time as a career. Leading up to that point, I needed to make sure that I had some kind of safety net. So I saved some money up and I made sure that I was consistently booking events, at least a few events a month, so that I knew that I was going to be making a steady income, and then took the dive and left my job and just focused 100% of my attention on performing magic professionally. So ever since then, I've been making it work. And just recently, like a couple months ago, a good friend of mine who is actually the manager for the Houdini's Magic Shop company that I initially worked for, they said that they were looking for people and they were wondering if I was interested. And I said, you know what, as long as I'm able to get the time off that I need to do my professional shows and things like that, let's go ahead and do it. So I know it sounded a little long-winded there, and I apologize for rambling, but that's the shortest version that I can give you guys for how my magic career kind of blossomed.
I mean, first of all, I wouldn't apologize for the long-windedness of the journey, because I think that's the texture and the context that we get value out of. And it does sound like you hit a lot of the major roadblocks of magicians going pro. It being 10 years to make a full-time career out of magic, like, that's not something you can whip together in a year or 2 years. You can get started in a year or 2 years, you can go pro in a year or 2 years, but you can't really make a career out of it. And it sometimes means a lot of little decisions, like leaving an actual paid job and deciding, how much you want to be paid to do magic and what you will do and what you won't do. And I always like to highlight that there's lots of ways to get paid to do magic, and only one of them is to get hired for private events. And just to reiterate kind of what you were saying, if somebody is young or wanting to get started in the world of magic, one of the things I think is the best traits and the best thing to think about is creativity, right? Is saying like, oh, maybe I could go work there, or oh, maybe I could work at this magic shop, or oh, maybe I can work at the theme park, but if they know I'm a magician, it'll help me book it, or whatever the case may be. So that was definitely really, really important for me. Let's keep moving. Let's talk a little bit about making magic and making magic unique. One of the things that I have recently been really excited about is the classics of magic. I know that sounds like a silly thing to be like, guess what I found? Old tricks. But I don't know. I've found a new love for them because I'm trying to do magic with interesting things. That journey has led me all the way back to classics of magic. And I have been enthralled with the way that magicians have been reawakening some magic classics. And I think one of the classics of magic that catches a lot of flack is the linking rings. And I can't really comment too much on it because I've never done it in my life. I've only made fun of it. But there are a few in recent memory that have blown my brains right out the back of my head. Chris Capehart is one of them, and yours is one of them. And it was really, really incredible. I've seen loads of videos of you doing it. I think I saw you doing it at Magi Fest to someone somewhere. But talk to me about what you've sort of done to this effect and how you've awakened it to be a little bit more exciting to audiences, and maybe if it exists, what you were struggling with the standard linking ring routines.
The first thing I want to talk about is where I kind of got into the linking rings, because I think that story needs to be told. So let's rewind back to 2007. I just started doing magic at the magic kiosk in downtown Disney. At this point, the only thing I'd really been exposed to ever was card magic and some of the stuff that we sold at the shop. So my friends and I, we went to the Magic Castle one evening. It was a young adults night. Usually you have to be 21 or over to go, but on young adults night, it's 18 and over. And I believe I was 19 at the time when we went. There was a magician, a Japanese magician, that was performing this new routine that I had never seen before. And I'm like, wow, that looked really cool. One of my friends was like, dude, that's Shutagawa. And I'm just like, I don't know what a Shutagawa is, but if you say so, okay, let's go check it out, right? We go into the close-up gallery, and he launches into his ninja rings routine. I fell in love with the routine just watching him do it right away. And the next thing I knew was, I need to pick up a set of those rings, and I need to learn that. So I actually found his website, holyshoot.com, and I ordered a set of his ninja rings, and it came with like a DVD that taught his routine. I'm watching this routine and I'm learning it. And in my head, I'm like, oh, well, it's just, the rings just link together and it's going to be fun. I didn't realize the amount of work that it was going to require for me to get the linking rings to look, as good as he did them. And I'll be honest with you, still to this day, I don't think that my, linking ring chops can hold a candle to Shutagawa or Yanagita, but it's one of those things where, from a technical standpoint, it makes sense in the most simplest sense of how the rings link together and things. But from a practical aspect and an execution standpoint, it's actually not very easy to make it look good or to make it look convincing. For close-up linking rings specifically, it's something that I fell in love with, and I thought, you know what, I have to learn this. So I literally didn't touch a card or a coin or anything for like 5 months. Like, I just dedicated 5 months of my time to learning this close-up linking rings routine. And I performed ninja rings pretty much move for move the way Shutagawa did for maybe a couple years. And then I'm browsing around. I think it was on Penguin Magic's website. I don't remember exactly, but I'm browsing, and I'm just looking at like linking ring ideas because I wanted to see different linking ring things that there were. And I came across this trick called Ninja Plus. And I was like, this looks interesting. And so essentially what Ninja Plus is it's a close-up linking ring, just like Shutagawa's routine, except rather than linking the rings together themselves, you're actually linking the ring onto like a wedding band, like a finger ring. So I ordered a set of the Ninja Plus rings, and it came with this 2-disc DVD little thing. And it taught a bunch of different moves using like a wedding band and the ninja ring set, essentially. The thing that I thought was super cool about it was that you can actually link the finger ring onto the ninja ring, and then you can let go of the ring and you can let them hold it and examine it, and the ring is actually permanently attached to the ninja ring. And so that was something I thought was really cool. And, I started figuring out ways to kind of incorporate that into my routine. And so what I did was I did the Shutagawa routine, and then I said, here, let me do one more thing. I took off my wedding ring, I linked that onto the ring, I handed it out, and then like that was kind of like my closer for like my ring set. I think maybe a year or so after that, the ring set that I had gotten was just so worn out because I had been playing with it for so much that I was ready to order another set. And I found out that the deluxe version, like the high quality version of these rings, had just come out. So I went ahead and I pulled the trigger on it, and I actually ended up emailing Matthew Garrett personally. And we started talking back and forth about different ideas and things. And he reached out to me and said, hey, so I'm coming out with this new product, and I'm calling it Fusion. And I have the concept, but I don't really have any of the moves yet. So I was wondering if you'd like to help out. So he actually sent me out the prototype set for this new Fusion idea he was coming out with. And I played with it for a little bit, and I gave him some feedback on it. And I came up with a couple moves for it and stuff. He decided, I think that it would be really cool if we made this a compilation thing. So it's not just me teaching everything, but you're going to teach your stuff, and a couple other guys are going to teach their stuff. And it's going to be like 5 different magicians from all over the world actually contributing to this product. That product, Ninja Plus Fusion, actually just released last year. I started very slowly replacing my Shutagawa routine with those things. And so now when you watch my routine, it's almost exclusively, there's not really any much of the Shutagawa routine left in there anymore. And then another really awesome thing happened. A magician by the name of Tom Brooks came up with this bar blade idea where he takes like a bottle opener, like a flat opener, and he links that onto the rings. So that got thrown into the mix as well. So now my routine is kind of this compilation, I guess you could say, of a bunch of different magicians' material. Some of my ideas are in there, some of Tom's ideas are in there, Matthew's ideas are in there. I like to call it the best version of the linking rings you'll ever see. The reason I call it that is because that's what people say anytime I show it to them. I've showed this to several different magicians, and the number one thing I always hear is, dude, I don't like the linking rings. I think they're cheesy, but I really liked that. And that was probably the best version of the linking rings I've ever seen. I would like to take 100% credit for all of the awesomeness of that routine. But like I said, the original concept was created by Matthew Garrett. So for those of you who are interested, I suggest looking at Ninja Plus by Matthew Garrett. I actually released my own project called Ninja Plus Sessions, where this is essentially me taking Matthew Garrett's product and kind of reworking them and streamlining everything. And I put 9 routines together for anyone. I guess you can call it like sort of like a quick start kind of guide. So for anyone that's really interested in learning this routine, I essentially gave you 9 straightforward effects that you can perform for people right away. And then the goal is to start kind of making up your own ideas and things like that. Matthew Garrett and I released Ring and Bottle, which uses the Ninja Plus sets too. It's exactly like how it sounds. You know, you're performing the Ninja Plus routine, and then you're able to take the wedding band that you've been linking and unlinking from these rings and actually putting it into a bottle that it wouldn't normally fit into. So that just came out recently.
First of all, the 10-year rule again, bearing its head, which is you work on anything for 10 years and you'll start to get noticed doing it. But the real thing that I wanted to focus on there that really excited me is that I did not know the background of that story. And I think it's more exciting because I think, multiple people helped create something that is now, like you said, everyone who sees it says, that's the best linking rings I've ever seen in my life. But it took multiple minds together to make it happen. And one of the things that I am always trying to better understand in the world of magic is some magicians succeed at some parts of magic where they struggle in others, and some vice versa. Some are really good at scripting but couldn't come up with a method for their lives. And some can execute on the most challenging of sleight of hand, but they can't write a single word of script that seems like it makes any sense, or whatever the case may be. And I think this is a lovely example of people having their strengths and bringing their minds together to create something amazing and potentially better than the sum of their parts. Someone who creates the thing looks for the person who performs a lot and says, hey, field test this, see what I'm missing, right? And I'm always interested how obsession can pay off in the long run. And this is one really great way where just by being absorbed into the world of linking rings, you are presented with incredible opportunities to help build something new and fresh and unbelievable.
Just being able to be a part of all of that, share my passions with people literally all over the world, like on the other side of the world, and meeting all these new friends and all this stuff. So magic is really, something that's been able to connect me and take me all over the world and all this stuff. So it's definitely a dream come true for me, and I owe that just to all of the people in my life that have just been so welcoming. And going to the Blackpool convention was an experience on its own. So I got my first dealer's experience there. I got to work the Ninja Plus booth with Matthew, and we were selling ring sets and stuff. It was a surreal moment when people would come up to me at the booth and like, holy crap, you're Michael O'Brien, and shake my hand and want me to like autograph things for them. And like I had never had that experience before, let alone on the other side of the world. So after thinking about it, it's like, wow, I can't believe that this is happening, and this is just like really awesome. And so do what you can to give to the community, help out whenever you're able to do that, because making friends and making connections, I think, is going to be one of the things that's going to make you the most successful, because the more people you have that love you and that want to invest their time into helping you grow, obviously the better it's going to be for you, but you're also able to do the same thing for them as well, and help them out in return. So it's gonna be better for everybody. I hear this thing all the time where magicians say, like, you shouldn't help build another magician up because then they're gonna, like, I don't know, take your gigs or something. I think it's actually the exact opposite. Yeah, it's exactly the exact opposite. I think you need to be building up. I get so excited when I'm able to connect my fellow magicians with like a gig or whatever. It's like we're sharing magic with the community. We're bringing magic out there. We're helping our fellow magicians to make a living and to grow and stuff like that. So building a solid community is something that I would really suggest you guys do. If you have a local magic club or a magic shop or anything like that, I suggest checking those out. And if you don't, you know what? Start one if you don't have anyone there. Look for like-minded people in your area and stuff, because having that community, it's really going to help you out a lot.
Something that really jumps out to me is, first of all, that you never know what'll happen 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And that, working on something that you care about is one of the best things you could do. Like, if I could give any advice to high school students in general, it's like, whatever that weird thing is that you're obsessed with, but you think is nerdy, like, do more of it, not less, please. And I think that's kind of an example of what we're looking at now with this, where you're just like, I don't know why, but I put all the cards down to link two rings together. And then just by going deep instead of wide, you become an expert or a trusted body. And that way, when somebody is looking for wisdom in the field, they will go to you. And it's just because you have worked so deeply on the thing that you care about. And obviously, I'm a big, big, big supporter of community between the Toronto Magic Company and this Discourse in Magic. Like, everything I've done is through the power and through the strength of community. So I'm definitely for that. And if you don't have a magic club in your area, try to start one. If there's not enough people to start one, see what happens if you drive 30 minutes. And if not there, then you can find some great online communities to help you build that as well. Here, stuff like Conjuring Community and Facebook groups and different things like that. So definitely highly recommended. Let's talk a little bit more about working on magic. So I have been super excited about watching your Pokemon card to pocket. And the reason is because I like magic growing and I like magic changing and becoming different and unique. And however it is that we can relate it to our lives, I love it. What we're interested in, I love it. And I think this was a great example. And I think it is an example that I would show to. I keep referring to young magicians in this episode, but I do think that would be the kind of thing I would show a young magician, to say, like, look, you can take any trick and make it about something that excites you, interests you, fun, and it just takes some sitting down and pen and paper and things like that. So talk to me about the evolution of your Pokemon card to pocket.
Going back to early in my career, I learned the card to pocket routine pretty much the standard way that I think most magicians perform it. It gets great reactions. People love card to pocket. It's visual. It can be performed, close up. It could be performed in like a parlor situation. You could do it surrounded and all kinds of cool stuff. And then you get that awesome moment where like the whole deck ends up inside of your pocket, except for their one card, and they always freak out on that part. So I had performed that routine pretty standard for a little while. The initial reason that I kind of started to want to change that routine was just because I wanted to keep that routine in my set, and I wanted to perform card magic for my children's parties, because I was starting to do more children's parties and stuff. And I just found out that card magic for children's parties doesn't really play very well, because kids don't really know what the cards are. They don't know what they mean. If I, have them choose a card and then I find it and they're like, was this your card? And they just look at me like, I don't know. I needed to find a way to kind of deal with this. And so the first thing that I thought was, well, what if I did the trick with like blank cards and I had them sign their name on the card? All they have to worry about is finding the card with their name on it, and I can come up with some kind of cute story for that or whatever. And then the problem with that is, some kids don't know how to write their name yet or whatever. And it's like, even just saying, well, just draw a smiley face on it or something. And then you're there for like 5 minutes waiting for the kid to draw a smiley face and like all this stuff. So scratch that. We're not going to do that. So what else can we do? Let's see. Card to pocket. You know what? Let's try something with Pokemon. Pokemon Go is about to come out. So I was like, let's try something with Pokemon. I have a bunch of Pokemon cards already. I mean, I grew up with Pokemon. I did legitimately play the card game when it first came out. And Pokemon does mean pocket monsters. So there's a story there. The cards are going into my pocket because they're pocket monsters. So all I would have to do is just this exact same routine. I didn't even have to change one thing from a technical standpoint. And I just came up with a new script for it. And so the last thing that I needed to figure out was, okay, well, what's the impossible location going to be? Because I don't want the card to go to my wallet. That doesn't make any sense. So I just went to Toys R Us and I bought a little Pokeball, and I just literally stuck some tape to the bottom of a folded up card, and I stuck it in the Pokeball, and I made like a mint tin gimmick, but I made it out of the Pokeball. And so I take out the Pokeball, I set it down on the table, I do the Pokemon routine, and at the very end, the Pokeball that's been in plain view the whole time is opened up. The card is removed from the ball, and it's opened up and revealed to be their signed card that had been, in the Pokeball like the whole time or whatever. I started performing that routine, and it got great reactions and stuff. And since then, I've actually added to it. So now I actually have like the Pokemon theme song playing in the background, and I put on a Pokemon hat. I make it this like big old thing. If I'm doing it for like a children's show, I'll let them wear the hat because they get to be the Pokemon trainer, and they get to say like the name of the Pokemon, and I choose you, and there's like the magic word that makes the Pokemon go to the pockets and stuff. And there's just a lot of play with that. A lot of different things that you could do with it. That ended up becoming the number one most requested piece in my show. So like anytime someone would hire me for an event, whether it be for children's parties or even just like regular like adult audiences, they would always say, hey, you're gonna do the thing with the Pokemon cards, right? And so it's like it's kind of become like the thing that I'm known for, the guy that does the Pokemon trick. All it took was me to just kind of think about a way that I could present the trick differently, because like I said, I didn't change anything from a technical standpoint. I literally just had to go out and buy Pokemon cards and a Pokeball and just use those tools instead.
It's amazing. Like it just took like a little bit more thinking.
I have this challenge to you, okay? I want you to walk up to someone and say, can I show you something really cool? Take out a deck of cards, remove the cards from the box, and just pause and just look at them and wait for them to react. They're probably just going to look at you like, okay, yeah, you have some cards. Like, all right, like what's going to happen? Now do the same thing. Reach into your pocket, pull out a deck of cards, and pull out Pokemon cards out of that deck of cards and wait for their reaction. I have never gotten a bigger reaction than just pulling cards out of a deck than I have with the Pokemon trick, because it's full of nostalgia, it's exciting, it's different, and they don't know what's going to happen. And even if people don't know what Pokemon is or don't have any clue about the game, it's still a fun routine for them to watch. And maybe they might learn something about the game at the end, That's my challenge to you, is find some way to make your card magic like more exciting. Come up with some cool way to make your magic exciting right out of the bat before you even start doing any magic. Like just taking the cards out. Like, how can you make it exciting for them? That's my little challenge to you guys.
I love it. It's a good challenge, and it's a reminder that, just a little bit more thinking can make your magic unique and brilliant and memorable. All this different stuff by just thinking a little bit more about what's interesting about what you're doing, what's unique, and how to pair together some of the things that you love in this world into your magic instead of doing the old stuff that you did. So I love that, and I think that it's a valuable reminder for all of us. And I really like how you kind of said, like, yeah, it was easy. I just had to think about it. And then it all just came together in like an instant.
It has to be something you're passionate about, because the more passionate about it you are, the more it's going to resonate, and the more your audience is going to see that you're passionate about it. It's fun for me. And when you're having fun and your audience can see that you're having fun, it's going to make the routine so much better for them.
I agree, and it's one of the Tamari's 7 veils about how much we love what we do and how our audience can tell. And I think making your magic more about the things that you like and enjoy in this world, things that interest and excite you, is the right way to go, and it'll help our magics become unique and interesting and special. So thank you so much for that. We are nearing the end of the episode, and we are approaching some final wrap-up questions. So the questions I ask all of the guests at the very end. So let's start with the first of the last, the endless chain. So in order to keep the podcast going on for eternity, each guest is asked to recommend another guest that absolutely must be on the show. So who would be incredibly wise with their theory and business knowledge for an episode of this podcast?
The first person that comes to mind, you need to talk to Eric Stevens. Yeah, I met Eric about 2 years ago now, I believe. And he is really clever, and he has a lot of really great ideas in his mind. The most recent thing that he started doing that's really kind of blown up and he's getting a lot of recognition for is his color sticks routine. So for those of you not familiar, it's like the hot rod, right? Yeah, check out Eric Stevens. Get him on here because he has a lot of great things to talk about, I believe, as well.
The next thing is about modern magic. So what is one thing going on in the world of magic right now that you like, and something going on in the world of magic right now that you do not like?
Both of these are going to kind of be two sides of the same coin. I'm going to just say social media, just blanket statement, social media stuff. I love social media for the fact that it brings people together. I just did my Penguin Live Act a couple months ago, and I had at least 4 or 5 people show up that I had been friends with for I don't know how long, like years on social media, that I had just met for the first time, like a couple months ago at that event. Same thing when I went to Blackpool. I met people at Blackpool that I had been friends with online for years and just met them in person on the other side of the world. So social media has been really good from like a connection standpoint, but also really good from like a getting your name out there standpoint. If it wasn't for social media and the ability for me to post these videos of me performing magic, I don't think anyone would really know who I am. On the opposite side of the coin of that now, social media could be negative in the same kind of way that you have trolls in kind of all aspects of just social media in general. There is a bit of infighting when it comes to magicians, like people starting drama online and you stole my idea and this and that and all kinds of stuff. In the same way that social media can be very helpful, I think it can be a little hurtful. So the goal for me is to just remember that we need to be there for each other and mentor the younger kids. And when I say younger kids, I don't mean age-wise. I mean like the newer generation of magicians. Mentoring them, helping them out. When they post a video online on Instagram of them doing their retention vanish and it looks like really dirty and they like flashed, don't scold them for exposing magic online. Reach out to them with advice on how to improve the thing so that when they post another video, it doesn't look like crap. It looks good. Like just little things like that. So that's probably what I'd say is both good and bad for magic is social media, but it really is just how you make it.
I agree, and I think we have a community to help take care of, and we're all in part in charge of doing that and making it happen the best way possible. And the last question is the take-home point. So people have been listening to us talk about magic for a little while now, and people listen to this podcast doing lots of stuff, whether it's washing their car or going for a walk or commuting to work or anything like that. And we gave them a lot of things to think about. So what is the number one most important thing that you mentioned or said or that we came across in this episode do you think is going to have the biggest impact on magicians?
It's going to be a journey. You're going to go into magic thinking it's going to come out one way. It may come out that way, and if it is, awesome. If it doesn't, don't get discouraged. It just means that your magic is going in a different direction, and that's completely fine. Like I said, there was a point where I kind of wanted to give up because I didn't know how it was going to turn out, and I was getting discouraged because my magic wasn't progressing as quickly or in the way that I thought that it was going to. And now here I am, sitting here talking to you on this podcast. You're interviewing me because for some reason, I guess people, kind of have something that they want to like listen to, some kind of knowledge that maybe I can have for them or give them. If you would have asked me 8 years ago if I would have been, on a podcast that giving my thoughts on magic to people, I would say, yeah, no one's going to want to listen to that. So thank you to you guys.
Well, I think 8 years ago, no one would have listened to a podcast about that, but I think a lot has changed.
It doesn't matter necessarily what you think you want. It's more or less, how much passion and energy you have to that thing. Because the more you care about it and the more passionate you are about it and the more work you put towards obtaining that goal, it's going to pay off for you. It might not pay off the way that you want. It might not pay off as soon as you want it to, but it's going to pay off. So never give up. Never surrender for those of you guys out there that are worried about how your magic's going to go.
The thing that really sticks out to me about your story and your magic is like get obsessed. Go be obsessed. Dive into it. Like don't be afraid. Like, what's the Steve Jobs quote? You can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect them going backwards. And like going backwards, it sounds like such a beautiful story. Like, oh, I saw the linking rings and I put everything down and I bought them and then people approached me and now we're here. But that's only looking backwards. Looking forwards, it was hey, the rings seem cool. Let me do this a lot. And then, hey, you need my help? Sure, let me help you out. And sure, you want to work together? Okay, let's give it a shot. So going forward, it looks a lot different than going backwards. And I think giving things your all, becoming obsessed, saying yes, working with friends, working as a community, all of these different values that you took on played such a big role in you becoming who you are right now. So thank you so much for the wisdom and all of the advice, Michael. It was incredible, and we are all smarter, and I definitely learned something. So thank you so much
Well,
for
good. I'm
joining
glad to
us.
hear that. And thank you so much for having me. And thank you to all of you guys for listening out there.
Beautiful, and we loved it. We love to have you. Where can people find you, find your magic, and buy some things if they want to link some rings or
So
whatever?
I'm on all of the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. I made it really easy for you guys, okay? Everything is O'Brien Magic, OBRIENMAGIC. So you go to any social media platform and punch in O'Brien Magic, and if I pop up, that's because I have a profile there. Also, my website is o'brienmagic.com, so you can find me there as well. I have an online magic store. I have a few books published, some videos, some downloads, and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in learning any of the kind of like ideas that I've come up with, including and not limited to the Pokemon routine, the linking rings, and all that stuff, you're welcome to check that out. I also have a community marketplace there on my website. A lot of underground magicians that have kind of come up with their own ideas. I'm hosting their material there as well, so you're welcome to check that stuff out and support your local underground artists. Also, my Penguin Live act that just came out in September is available. You'll be purchasing from Penguin Magic directly, but there's a link to it in my website, so you don't have to go digging, looking for it in Penguin's website. You can just go straight to mine, and then I have it linked up there for you guys all nice and pretty. If you're interested in learning the close-up linking rings the way that I do them, using Matthew Garrett's Ninja Plus products, I have a whole section that's just dedicated to that. You can get the complete set so you can perform the routine exactly the way that I do, or you can pick out your favorite bits and get the individual items too. It's completely your choice. Either way, thank you so much for even just considering anything that I've had to say to you guys today. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out on social media. And I'd love to meet you guys, and I'd love to answer any questions that you have. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, guys.
Amazing. Michael, thank you so much for joining us on the episode, giving us all of this wisdom, advice, and inside scoop on how you've created the magic that you have and how you got to where you are today. So thank you so much, Michael. And of course, a big, huge thank you to everybody who joined us and listened and were a part of this episode. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next Thursday. Well, there you go. I hope you liked the episode, and I hope that you learned something. I really liked what he said about that little difference, that little thing that you can add to a trick that'll make all the difference. So what little bit, little change, little idea can you add to a trick that you already do that will make it make all the difference, be unique, and be much more about you? As usual, thank you so much for being here, and it would mean the world if you left an iTunes review. I know I don't usually ask for it, but it really helps apparently. So go leave an iTunes review, and I will hug you when I see you next. See you Thursday. Peace.